Hi Mark, thanks for coming on with us this morning. Much appreciated. So without further ado, we've had a bit of kind of pre-chat, so let's get right into the questions. First off, can you tell everyone a little bit about Integra International? We're not just a kind of a standard accountancy firm as we normally work with. So it'd be great to hear a little bit about Integra and what you guys do.
So, yes, Integra International is a global association of independent accounting and law firms, principally accounting firms. And we have about 130 members in about 80 countries around the world. So we have a very diverse membership with all kinds of different skill sets. But most of our firms are full service firms doing audit, accounting, tax, and consultancy advice. And I was a member, I was the London member. My firm were the London members, and I was a member of the global board of Integra, which was the effectively the volunteer army that ran Integra. And when I retired, I was invited to take the position of chief operating officer and to drive Integra further forward for a few years, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. And but one of the first challenges was to create a team of people to support me.
Excellent. Well, that brings us on to nicely onto our next question. And in terms of when you came on as the COO, what challenges did you face in terms of staffing that led you to want to try offshoring?
Well, being an international association, there are certain parts of the world where obviously the timings don't work. And it's very important to have people that are flexible. I mean, my working day can start anywhere from 7 in the morning and finish at 10 or 11 at night,
Yeah,
depending on where I have to have meetings with. And obviously, many of the meetings are rather like the one you and I are having now, Mark, on Zoom. So,
yeah.
so there's no restriction now to the way in which you can work. And so one of the issues was to find a team that could work with me around the clock. And I already had someone working in Europe and I already had someone working in America. So I was looking for someone in a different time zone.
Excellent. Okay. And obviously that then brings us on to the next part in terms of offshoring, being part of a kind of accountancy firm. Had you used any kind of outsourcing or offshoring before?
We outsourced work into India, where there was a
Mhm.
company that we worked with doing tax returns and working on audit and accounting assignments, and
Hmm.
that proved quite successful. We often did have staff members coming from their office to train with us as well, and it worked quite well. So I was quite confident that this kind of thing would work. But obviously, I had spoken to people were also using offshoring.
Hmm. Yeah, and obviously the offshoring side, I think would suit better with your members, and obviously having that one person who can be
A
that
dedicated person, yeah.
that point of contact, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. So in terms of your perceptions of offshoring and outsourcing and stuff like that, you were a fan already to begin with. So what led you to work with Frontline?
Well, I met one of your founders. He was working with one of our members in Miami, and I'm not sure how they come across each other, but
Yeah,
he came to meet with me, and he also attended one of our conferences. And his strong belief and enthusiasm for the way in which it could work made well, it was impossible not to consider it, quite frankly. The member firm in Miami, KSDT, who are a big firm, very successful and growing fast, had a tremendous relationship with Frontline and were very candid about how it was working and open and honest about it. And that gave me the confidence to consider it. And quite frankly, I think the understanding that Frontline would carry out all of the responsibilities that a local employer would have, and knowing I wouldn't have to worry about that because obviously being a team of one with
yeah.
two administrators in America and Germany, it was a bit daunting to try and work with someone else in a different location. But knowing that Frontline could deal with all of the backroom stuff and make sure that the legal requirements were all complied with gave me the confidence to try it out. And so we went ahead with an interview process.
Excellent. And can you describe how that initial process went and what your thoughts were in terms of, how smooth it went and the onboarding and the support you were given by Frontline?
Yeah, well, I mean, the team at Frontline sent us various CVs of potential offshore employees that we could interview. And we were then able, myself and the other administrators, to review those. And we came up with a shortlist. I think we had a shortlist of three, if I recall. It's a few years ago now. But
Yeah,
and then we interviewed them using Zoom because, of course, it's just so easy to do that. And to be fair, one of the candidates did stand out. And so Lois joined us literally, I think, within 2 or 3 weeks. It was a very
excellent.
smooth process, very quick.
Excellent. And how did the integration process go with you? You obviously mentioned you have other administrators, one in Germany, one in America, and obviously you yourself normally based in London. How did the integration process go with bringing all parts of the globe together effectively?
Well, I have to be honest, I didn't get involved with the day-to-day training on our systems and the processes we use. To be fair, I was fairly new to my role as well.
Hmm.
So a lot of that was handled by the American administrator, and Lois, quite frankly, she is an incredibly well qualified and intelligent young lady and was able to pick up things very, very quickly. She worked in similar administrative roles before. Certainly, in her organizational skills were obvious from day one, and her IT skills, to be fair. In fact, she still produces the prettiest presentations of any of our administrators. They're very well designed. And and then we have weekly meetings to bring us up to date and to get us working together. And I have to be absolutely fair. We were developing our systems, and Lois contributed as much to that development of those systems as any other person. The other important thing for Lois was to get to know our members in the region she was responsible for. So she is responsible directly for the whole Asia Pacific region, which it probably spreads from India all the way across to Japan and down to New Zealand and Australia, taking in China and all of that area really, which is a vast area and quite a few time differences there as well. There's a few hours across that region, and she got to know the members very, very quickly, and it was quite seamless. To be fair, it was much faster, I would say, for her to pick things up, especially considering we didn't physically meet for quite a few months. It was not an issue at all. It just happened. It was great.
Fantastic. Great, great. And you mentioned there that obviously Lois is a direct contact to an awful lot of your members in the region.
Absolutely.
Were there any kind of indicators or any kind of feedback kind of that you received that made you think, you know what, this is working absolutely perfectly and you got, your confidence was boosted?
I think the one thing is that the other members of our board who became responsible for running activities in the Asia Pacific area, such as
Hmm.
the regular webinars and Zoom meetings that we hold, CPD type of courses, immediately worked directly with her. And so I was able to delegate to her the responsibility for organizing those things. She could deal directly with those people, and it just happened. I didn't have to get involved at all. We agreed an annual calendar, which again she created for all the administrators, and we could then populate that calendar with all of our future events. And then it was up to the administrators to organize the ones they were responsible for. And Lois carried out her work perfectly and now has a very strong working relationship with the members in that area and other global areas because she has global responsibilities as well as local or regional ones, if you like. And it
Wow.
works. That's all I can say.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously, you said there that Lois kind of hit the ground running from a very early stage. I mean, were there any challenges that you had to overcome? I know obviously there's a lot of time zones, and obviously you've mentioned there, a couple of different languages at least to kind of contend with as well. So, were there any challenges at all, or did it just go completely smoothly?
I can't really recall any. I mean, language is an issue, obviously, but we operate principally in English, so that's not been a challenge for Lois. Her English is perfect, and I can't remember any specific challenges. I think the biggest challenge she had, us probably was understanding what accountancy was all about. But
Yeah,
but I think she picked that up fairly quickly. But that will be true of anyone coming into working with accounting firms for the first time, and. I have to be honest, when we have our webinars and our Zoom training sessions, the administrator's role is to make sure the whole thing works smoothly. So
yeah.
she doesn't really need to have the technical knowledge, but it does work really, really well.
Excellent. And have you had feedback from Lois in terms of how she finds working with Frontline and the support that she gets from ourselves?
Oh, I think she's very happy and relaxed to be supported by the frontline team, and we, of course, we've got to know a lot of the team over the period of time, and there are issues where frontline have to get heavily involved. We did have to change computers at one point in time, and that all happened very easily. We also obviously we coped with COVID and the working restrictions that entailed, and that worked really well. Lois is able to travel to our global conference every year, and indeed has already arranged one conference in her region, which we had in Singapore last October. And obviously, she needs to organise her travel arrangements and visas. And again, Frontline have been really, really good with that because, of course, they've got expertise in that area. If their staff do need to travel and they've got to get visas and everything, they know how to go about it. We've had no trouble at all. Lois has got visas to come to the UK, to come to Europe, to come to Singapore, and to come to America. She's very pleased that she has, I think she has a 6-year visa to travel to America now. So hopefully we'll use that a few times over the next few years.
Excellent, excellent. And yeah, finally, I mean, what would be, or would you be happy to recommend a Frontline to any accounting firms or similar businesses
Yeah,
to your
I've got no doubt about that. I really haven't. I mean, it works. It's very professional organisation. Having dealt with the HR team, dealt with the annual reviews of the staff, given feedback, and just all the notifications that we get of changes, and all the matters around things like reviewing salary, public holidays, which is a big thing in the Philippines where the people are based. You seem to get some very interesting public holidays, but it's very good that we get very early notification of those. So if we have a working clash, we can negotiate something with our staff member because they will still work for us on a public holiday if it's absolutely necessary, because they realise that obviously where we're working might be different rules to where they are.
yeah.
And in any international organisation, you have to be aware of that. So I have to say, Frontline are so professional, and they've been very pleasant people to do business with. And we are planning, I'll tell you this now, Mark, we are planning a conference in the Philippines next year.
Oh, excellent.
We're currently talking to the hotel, and I'm looking forward to visiting. And I expect to be given a tour of the Frontline office. That is going to be on my agenda. So
Well, we've got some big news for you as well, and we're actually trying to secure new offices. So hopefully, by the time you've organised your conference, Frontline will be in our shiny new offices as well. So
yeah,
that'll
that'll
be a
be
good
great. Well, I
yeah.
mean, hopefully, I mean, as you know, Integra, there's at least half a dozen members of Integra now using it Frontline. There may be more for all I know,
Yes, yes.
because they don't all necessarily tell me. But hopefully, we'll encourage all of those members to come to the Philippines and to meet with their team, which will be tremendous. We can have a
That would
little,
be fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be great.
All right. I'm sure Lois
It'll
is
be
very
in
much looking forward to it.
July next year is what we're planning.
July next year. All
So
right.
mark your calendar. We'll let you know the date.
I'm making a note. I'm sure Lois will be absolutely delighted to be
Oh, she's loving
actually.
it already. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.